Hey now, my name is Nick, this is Board Game Brawl, and it is time for another segment of my top 100 games of all time. We are finally into the top 50. These are the 50 games that I love the most. It is almost guaranteed that they will all have a spot in my collection for some time to come. And I hope that you agree, and I hope that if you think that some of these games that maybe you've never even heard of before look cool, that you'll go and seek them out. I'm not telling you to buy it right away, but look into it, see if it's the type of thing that you like. That is one of the main reasons I'm making this list. But of course, there are people in the board game geek community who disagree with me, and their voices shall be heard. What are we waiting for? Let's do it. My number 50, just barely squeaking into the top 50, is Ascension from Stoneblade Entertainment. Now, Ascension's always going to have a special place in my heart, if I can sound melodramatic, because it was one of the first games that really got me into modern board gaming. Yeah, I'd played a few before. I'd played Carcassonne, which is terrible, and I'd played Dominion, which is a good game, but it didn't really excite me the way that Ascension did, because Ascension had a cool theme where you're like these avatars killing all these monsters, trying to stop this dark god from resurrecting, and you have two different types of currency. You have runes to get, you know, heroes and artifacts and stuff to go into your deck like other deck builders, but now you have power, which you can use to kill monsters just to get points and special effects, and, you know, it just felt, and you have this randomized lineup, which so many deck builders do nowadays. But Ascension was really the game that originated that. It took Dominion and formed it into a completely different feeling game, which was really impressive at the time. It's fun. It gets much, much better with the expansion. So if you go into it, I highly recommend picking up one of the later expansions. But any way you slice it, it's a great game. I still think the artwork is terrible. It's getting slightly better, but if you can put up with that, there's a solid deck builder to be had here. That is Ascension from Stoneblade Entertainment. However, Owlzette says, utterly crap. Terrible idea, atrocious artwork, a complete disaster when introduced to my eager game group. The box and components reek of a horrid stench, and the gameplay, like its art, is awash in blandness. Only waste your time on this after being lobotomized. Yeesh. My number 49 is Shinobi WAT, or WAT, however you want to say it, from Yellow Games. This game came out, I think, earlier this year, and it really has not got much attention at all. And that's a shame, because this is a solid, fun, light card game. I guess you would call it a Take That card game and set collection card game. The theme is really cool. You have these different Shinobi clans, and you're trying to gather their members and make teams of them in order to score points. So the basic version of the game, and what you do in the first every intermittent round, it's kind of tough to explain. You're just doing that. You're trying to get cards, get sets of cards to get points, and then, you know, doing like special Take That abilities from these different tribe members against the other players. But where the game gets incredibly interesting is when you get past those intermittent rounds and into the what I call the game board part of the game, where you have this boss that you have to defeat at the end of the game, but there's multiple decoys that are attracting you away from the boss. So now it's actually a little bit of a game of deduction. You get to take the points that you got from the first part of the game and use those points as little ninja stars to go to these, it's almost like a little worker placement thing, in order to either get special abilities or look at the decoy cards to eliminate variables as to who the boss might be, because you need, those bosses have special victory conditions and you need to know those ahead of time. It's difficult to explain, but it's just so neat. It turns the traditional card game idea onto its head. Beautiful artwork from Nayade, who is the same artist of Seasons, which may or may not be higher on my list. I just love the design and production of it, the idea of it. Great, great game, light game. I could teach it to anybody. That is Shinobi WAT from Yellow Games. However, Ultimario says, crazy swingy and luck based. I suspect this might get the Munchkin players going, but for me, one 3-player game was enough, even if I won. Number 48 is one of the newest games on this list, and that is Lords of Xidit from Asmodee. Now, I was first attracted to this game because I saw that it was from the same designer as Seasons, which again, may be higher on my list. I know, I just need to stop doing that. And it's also got the same theme and world as Seasons. The reality is this was actually a game that the designer had put out years ago called Himalaya, and he just rethemed it into the Seasons world. And by the way, I think the original game also looks fantastic components and art-wise, but putting it in the Seasons world with that awesome artwork from Nayade, wow, back-to-back Nayade games artworks, actually, I didn't really plan on that, but that just really put it over the top for me and made it a game that I wanted to pay attention to and wanted to get right away, and I was not disappointed when I actually played it. This is a game all about taking your little dude, your little, like, I don't know, lord or something. You're trying to be one of the lords of Xidit, and going around this game board and trying to kill monsters. And first you have to recruit people into your army, whether it be peasants or clerics or warriors and all these things, and wizards, and get them into your army and then use them to take out monsters. Well, that seems pretty easy enough, and a lot of games do that. There's two things that make this game incredibly interesting. One is that it's a programmed movement game, and those are hit and miss with me, but it really works for Lords of Xidit. You program what you're going to do for your next 6 actions, moving around the game board, gathering armies, fighting monsters, but you're never quite sure what your opponents are going to do, and it's that guessing game of, are you going to move here and take this guy before I can? But I got to take the shot. Are you going to kill that monster before I do? Or maybe you're going in a completely different direction. You just don't know. And it's really, really interesting. But the real cool thing about the game is the end game scoring, where you have 3 different things that you're graded on: money and prestige and, oh, I'm blanking, little bard tokens and wizard's towers. You're graded on these different aspects during the course of the game, and you're trying to do your best in all of these. But if you lose one of the tracks, you lose everything. You get eliminated from contention to even possibly win some of the other ones. So you may think that you're doing fantastic in like one particular thing, but if you're not doing well in all of them, you may very well fail and fall right on your face. I just love it. It's just such a cool concept. I want to play it more and more and more. That is Lords of Xidit from Asmodee. However, Philwe says, €2 for the amount of chaos that it has, too light for the amount of Eurogame that it has. Cute graphics, though. My number 47 is Tragedy Looper, with its most recent edition coming out from Z-Man Games. But I had originally played a Japanese edition of this game, the first one from Baka Fire Party, and it was such a cool, innovative game. I couldn't believe it. I'd never played anything like it, and I still have it to this day, and that's been over a year since I originally played the game. One player is a mastermind. This is a one versus all game, and the mastermind is trying to make a tragedy happen every day of game time, whether it be a murder, a suicide, having a serial killer do his dirty deeds, all of these different things. Depending on these different scenarios, you're trying to make that happen as the mastermind. The other players work cooperatively as the protagonists to make sure that that doesn't happen, but they have no information, none whatsoever. They have to try and find out what the mastermind is doing with his card play and what the scenario is and who the bad guys are from all these people moving around the city and the town boards. But you don't know anything, so you're going to fail. But, hence the name of the game, you get to loop back in time as a protagonist, use what you learned in the previous loops, and then try to figure out what's going on. But you only have a certain amount of loops that you can use before the game comes to an end. All you need to do is prevent the tragedy one time. It is such an awesome concept. It's got a steep learning curve. It's hard to teach to people, but it just rewards further and further play, and it has been a fantastic, rewarding experience for me and my group. I'm shocked that it has gotten so much buzz, and I'm happily shocked that I thought it was just this weird game that would just kind of like never go anywhere, but I'm so glad that it got picked up in the US and it's seeing more attention, and I want more scripts for it. That's Tragedy Looper from Z-Man Games. However, Inexorable 74 says, I hate the theme. Why would I want to play a game with characters committing murder and or suicide? This can barely be characterized as a game. I do not think this game is fun. I hope I never see another copy of this game anywhere, and I adamantly refuse to play ever again. The end. My number 46 is Mansions of Madness from Fantasy Flight Games. This is another one of the Cthulhu games, and those are kind of hit and miss with me, but this one really works well. This is less about just cooperatively working together against these oncoming hordes that have some variation, like, oh, we're fighting a different Cthulhu god this time, or, some monsters are different. This one, you're going through a story, and it's a one versus all game. One player is, I think it's the Overlord or Overseer, I think, who sets up the story, and even if you play the same story, some different elements of it might change each time that you play. Sets up all these map tiles, sets up all the rooms with different randomized items and special mysterious things and clues that you have to find to progress through the story. And the other players take control of investigators who are trying to get through the story, take out monsters that may be trying to kill them along the way, and find out all these clues leading to unraveling the mystery. Whether it's finding out that the old man killed his family and but he's been possessed by a demon and now you have to stop that, and finding out that there's like a ghost that needs to be put to rest, and there's a haunted school. all of these different scenarios gives a ton of variability to the gameplay. It makes it all very interesting, very richly thematic, combined with awesome components, totally cool miniatures, and, you know, little cardboard chits in different rooms that you can mix around. Oh, so much stuff. Such a rich thematic game. I just love it. It's fantastic. That is Mansions of Madness from Fantasy Flight Games. However, Ascendant says, I ended up hating this game with the passion of 1,000 suns. It played like Last Night on Earth, heavily biased against the players, and probably play tested by people who had played the game extensively. A keeper has, that's it, keeper, has to take it a bit easy on learners to make the game seem fair and balanced. As it stands, it's as fair and balanced as Fox News. My number 45 is Ristorante Italia from Red Glove Games, or Red Glove Productions. Sorry, I can't remember which one. This is such a delightful Euro-style game where you are running a restaurant. You're running an Italian restaurant, and you need to do all the different things that you would need to do for a restaurant. You need to get recipes. You need to get the ingredients for those recipes. You need to buy tables. You need to entice customers into the restaurant. You need to give the food critic a positive experience so that he gives you a good review. It's such a cool thematic Euro game because you need to do all these things and keep them in balance and but you're trying to make money at the same time. So how much money do you spend on ingredients? How much money do you spend trying to improve your restaurant in order to get more money back? And you're constantly vying for control of this the chef's scoreboard, which gives you access to more and more better recipes, and you're making all the different entrees. Oh man. It's so neat. It's so charming. The artwork is great. The components are great. You have little like measuring cups to keep your money in. The only thing I don't like is the bidding, and that's not so bad. It's great. It's a really great game. Great family game. But it's surprisingly deep though, so it might be a little bit heavy for some families. But still, if you've got a family that's already getting into gaming quite a bit, oh man, you gotta find this. It's great. It's a great experience. That's Ristorante Italia from Red Glove Productions or Games or something or other. However, the Grinder says, tried it at the publisher booth. It was so bad, I left before we concluded a game. My number 44 is Conquest of Planet Earth from Flying Frog Productions. And at the time that I'm recording this, this is the only Flying Frog game that I have actually liked. I haven't liked Last Night on Earth, I haven't liked The Touch of Evil, and Fortune of Glory does not look like it appeals to me at all. Shadows of Brimstone may be cool, but Conquest of Planet Earth, I am so glad I took a chance and tried this one anyways, because it's great. It is great. But please bear in mind that I am talking about the cooperative game when I talk about this. I took one look at the rules for the competitive game and said there's nothing there for me. But the cooperative game is where it's at. Each player takes control of a different alien race, and you're all working together to obliterate the planet Earth. You have these cool little spaceship miniatures that you use to signify your forces going around the map, popping out different location cards as you move through these different boards. You get all kinds of cool special abilities. My group's favorite is the teleportation pants, because it's just funny to say that. And different special powers for all the different alien races. Some of them are better at some things than others. Some races are better at getting tons of cool cards and special abilities, but they're not that strong in combat. Some races are different. The expansion, Apocalypse, totally opens up the game. It's fantastic with that expansion, if only because of the Annihilation Cube, which is one of the coolest miniatures ever. This is just a great thematic cooperative game. It's fiddly as all get out, but if you can get through that, you'll have a fantastic experience. That is Conquest of Planet Earth from Flying Frog Games. However, Adam Zero says, this game earned the exclusive "could not wait for this game to end" tag. Way too many gotcha cards that make the game unnecessarily long by deleting hard-won achievements and completely negating turns. In my experience so far, Flying Frog continues to throw a bunch of art and minis into a box and sell it to people who are looking for a toy. My number 43 is a Spiel des Jahres winner from last year, and that is Hanabi. This game is from one of my favorite designers, Antoine Bauza, and it's also one of my favorite types of games in that it's cooperative, but it is like no other game I've played, cooperative or not. This game, you are working together with the other players to make a fireworks display. It's not the most thematic game ever, but don't worry about that. What you're really trying to do is just do set collection for different colored and numbered cards. And you can play cards, discard cards. It seems very simple. Like, well, who cares? You're trying to make sets of cards. Tons of games have done that. The trick here is that you are not allowed to see your own hand. You hold your cards facing out from you so that only the other players can see them and you can see everyone else's cards. And you're not allowed to say anything about the people's cards unless you use your turn to give a clue, and your clues can only be color or numbers for the cards in their hand. And that sounds like, what's the big deal? It is such a tense, just totally stressful cooperative experience, but for me, stressful in all the right ways. I don't know that I'll ever be good at this game or have a group of people who can all totally work together to make it better. My highest score is like 20 out of 25 points, which I guess is okay, but I will love trying. I will love just trying it over and over again to get better and better. Such a unique experience, totally deserving of the Spiel des Jahres win because it's easy to learn but difficult to master, and I think it will appeal to a lot of different people. That is Hanabi, my number 43 from R&R Games in the US. However, Good Sound, and I think this might be slightly offensive, Good Sound, says, an awkward idea turned into a not funny, not even a game, more of social time dissipation. People buying this game just because of an award like SDJ will think that playing games is for the mentally retarded. I can hardly consider this as a game in the definition of BGG. Okay? My number 42 is going to fall squarely in the category of, I'm sorry if you investigate this game and find out that you really want it, because you're going to have a hard time getting a copy. That is Fury of Dracula from Fantasy Flight Games. I had to trade a whole stack of games in order to get this one because it's long out of, well, not long out of print, but at least 4 or 5 years out of print. And this is actually based off of a game from years and years and years ago, like 20 years ago from Games Workshop. It was reprinted in cooperation with Fantasy Flight Games. And I've never played the original version, but I can speak for this one, and it's fantastic. And I don't know why it hasn't been reprinted by Fantasy Flight because there's huge demand for it. This game is another one versus all game. It was actually like 3 of those at least on this segment of the list, but this one player takes control of Dracula, and the other players are all the famous, I guess investigators you'd call them, who from the story who are tracking him down, like Van Helsing and Lucy and Jonathan Harker, and that in and of itself is cool. I mean, the theme is so cool, and this is one of the most thematic games that I own. But what's even better is the mechanics of how Dracula moves around the board, which I love. I just love it. You put down different location cards representing a track of where your movements go, because it's like hidden movement and deduction on the part of the players who are cooperating together. And as Dracula goes down the track of location cards, slowly moving along, he's dropping traps behind him that you put on top of the cards, and the traps could be other vampires or thugs or bats or wolves and all these things. And the other players have to try to find out what these cards are on the track in order to pick up his trail. Oh man, it's so cool. Like, I love just playing the game and experience it. It's just like, it's an experience of a game while having solid mechanics to back it up. And it looks great. This old world map with these cool miniatures. If you can track down a copy and it won't set you back too much, I strongly encourage you to do so, because I don't know when they're going to reprint it again, and that's a real shame. Fury of Dracula, the latest edition from Fantasy Flight Games. However, C. Grit says, I'm not surprised he's furious. His dark majesty has been cheapened by this silly, dated game filled with fiddly, luck-driven mechanics. It is deeply thematic, but the gameplay is a chore. My number 41, our last one for today, and a game that is completely different from my number 42, is Dungeon Guilds from MOA Ideas Game Design. And I'll say right up front that unlike a lot of the different obscure Asian games I talk about, this one is relatively easy to get. You can go to Eureka Puzzles and Games, just do a Google search for it. They have an online site. You can buy the game right now as of the time of me recording this. Dungeon Guilds is a very cool cutthroat card game. Do not let the deceptively cute chibi artwork fool you. I mean, a lot of people don't like that. I like it a lot. But despite that, this is a cutthroat game. You have these different dungeon levels represented by there's monsters on the other side of these dungeon levels, but you're not sure what they are or how strong they are, or you know approximately how strong they are and approximately how much gold they're going to give you, but you're not entirely sure. And every player has a hand of adventurers, like an adventuring guild, hence the Dungeon Guild, of numbered cards that they can play on each of these dungeon levels in turn order. And you play until you can make that level pop when your adventurer's strength meets that certain level, or until it gets locked down at least. But there's so many screw you things you could do to the other players. You can block someone out. You can make a room fail, because if you make a room fail, like you put down adventurers that are and lock the room and there's clearly no way that you're going to be able to win that room when you flip the card over, every other level below that fails as well. And then not only do you not get paid, you might actually have to pay to heal your adventurers and totally screw over those people. So if you know that you're not going to be able to do much to get many points and much money on this turn, make the other people pay. It works so well. It's fast, it's light, it's easy to teach, it's so like cute. I love the artwork. It's just a very charming game, and I wish that it had wider availability, but you can still get it now at that Eureka site, and I urge you to check it out if you like these types of games and this type of design and charm and artwork. That is Dungeon Guild's from Mo Ideas Game Design, my number 41. But Ionis says, gameplay is just mediocre, artwork is weirdo. Alright people, that's it for today, but please stick with us because it is getting better and better. I'm so excited to give you my top 40, and that will be coming out soon. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.